Okay guys, welcome back to another resin fish tutorial here. I know it's been a hot second since I've done one of these. The first thing I need to do is actually clean off the surface of my bowl here because it is literally covered in dust. I think it's been about maybe 2 or 3 months since my last layer, which is far too long. Actually, it might have been longer than that. I think my last layer was in March or so. And right now it is August, so we're going to pretty much be building up. Pretty much when you wash this off, you just need a little bit of water. Sometimes you can use a mild soap, but because it's just resin, it's not going to bother it. Alright, let's go ahead and get started by building it up a little bit more, and you can see my reflection. I might have zoomed you in a little bit more than what my previous posts were used to. This is just going to hopefully... Well, let's just start really fast. I am just going to make the dots of the bodies of the new baby fish that we're adding at this layer right now. So let me go ahead and do that. I actually see a little outline from... I pretty much tried to do this previously, but I found out my recording didn't work. So I actually completely removed this layer so you guys could, well, watch it being made because my recording was lost. So I literally erased half of this layer just so you guys can see it. Yeah, it's been a little bit crazy right now due to, you know, the situation that the world is in. You know, my family, my very small family, was affected as well. I was affected. My husband was affected, so it's all been pretty crazy. For a little bit of the quarantine time, I was in the UK because my husband wasn't allowed to come to the US, and it was an issue because of quarantine and all that, so yeah. I have had a weird last few months. Alright, so I've got the little heads of all my bodies. Now I'm just going to drag out pretty much the bodies of all my heads. I hope that I still remember how to make fish, because it's been so long. Well, then again, when I first started to do this new painting, it had been years since my last fish, so I guess it hasn't been as long as last time I took a break. Let's do the little bodies. Feeling I need to add just a touch of water to my paint here. And because we're starting to get a little bit higher up in the layers, we do want to start to focus on detail and also softening everything that we're doing, because you're going to start seeing the paint strokes at these layers because they are so gosh darn high up. I'll grab a little bit of water and just blend these out. There we go. So we are going to take a little bit more time on these layers because they are a little bit more important. Pretty much the higher up we get, the more important the layers are, with the exception of the last 2 or 3 layers. Those ones are not nearly as important. The last layer is literally just clear, obviously, because we build that resin up to the top so the fish aren't literally on the top of the painting. But these layers are more, these middle top ones are very important. And just like that, you see my little bodies are coming along. You can see this one is missing its body here. Perfect. I'm going to let those dry a little bit before I start blending them out. Let me check. I don't know how many... Let's see. I don't think I'll add any depth to any of the babies from the last layer. I'm looking and I'm liking the depth that they're at now. Let me spin this so you can see. You see the depth? They're not too bad right now, these baby fish that were at the last layers. Not the ones we just did, I'm talking about the one layer ago, so it would be 1 day ago technically, if you're looking at the titles. Alright. So while we're waiting for those baby fish to dry, let's go ahead and work on our body here. Let me get this in an angle so we can see it. Let me see if I need to refocus here. Let me just drop this down. It helps to give my camera something that it can autofocus on. It has trouble autofocusing on the fish sometimes. There we go. Now you're focused on that fish, so let's go ahead and start. So the first thing we're going to do, we're going to go ahead and put a base down of where we're going to be painting today, which I'm thinking it's going to be little eyes, a little bit of the nose, just like that. And then we're going to come this way, and just like that. Now, immediately after painting this, I'm going to soften up the edges because we are going to want this to, we don't want, let me see if I can show you. See this harsh line right here? Terrible. That's not going to be good for any 3D effects. So we want to go ahead and soften that. And soften that in. Again, I'm not the best artist here. It's not my profession or anything like that, but I think we can still achieve the look that we're going for regardless. Alright, let's light that up and make that a lot softer. We pretty much just want to put that base down because it is so hard to paint on a glass surface, which is essentially what painting on top of resin is, but when you put that base down of paint, it becomes a million times easier for you to actually paint on the surface. But we do want this layer of paint to be soft, and we don't want it to be harsh, and we don't want it to be thick. There we go. Soften that up. And if you might remember from the last few parts, whenever we put something down, especially on something large like this, we do want to turn the canvas in all sorts of directions, and we want to make sure that it's looking good from all directions, because again, this is a 3D piece, it is not a 2D piece. Really, the thing that we're caring about is making sure it looks good from all directions. So what we're going to do is we're going to kind of spin the fish around. You can see the image of the fish completely changed. And this is a little harsh, but I don't think it's going to be too bad once it's wet with resin. This layer, of course, does become slightly more transparent as soon as you put the resin on. Alright, and let's spin it a little bit more this way. You can see the image completely changed there. You can't even see the eyeball of one side of the fish. That's the amazing effect of 3D. I'm going to soften that edge just a touch. And erase a little bit. Again, the way you erase with resin is you drop a little bit of water down, you mesh it about, and then you use a clean brush to pick up and move around the paint. Alright, so that's erased just a little bit. Alright, that's looking pretty good. I think what I'm going to do now, I'm going to wait for this to dry just a little bit. We're going to go back to our baby fish here, and I'm going to soften up the edges as well. So I've got, again, a wet brush. You see this fish right here, it's real messy. So what we're going to do is we're going to place this water around the fish, just like that. See how it's wet? And then we're going to use a dry brush to remove the water. And you can see how it cleans it up, just like that. Erasing is very, very easy with resin. Probably easier than any other painting style that there is. Oops, I erased a bit of the head there too, so we're going to go back and fix that once that area is a little bit more dry. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to clean up around some of the other fish here. Just like that. And again, you will see a little bit of a film almost of paint being left behind, but this completely goes away, that like whitish film that you'll see when you put the resin over it, so don't worry too much about that. Once I've finished that a little bit, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start adding a little bit of details to the baby fish, and I'm going to do that by adding a little bit of gold, because you know me, with my glitter metallic paints. I'm all about adding a little bit of glitz and glam to my fish here. There we go. You see how that one just popped out a million times more with its glitz and glam? It's completely optional. It definitely isn't very realistic. Fish in general aren't typically glittery, but it really depends on the paint that you're using. You're more than welcome to actually go into more metallics than glitters. Metallic paints tend to be really good with resin fish paintings, in my opinion. But honestly, most of the professional resin fish painters don't really use metallics from what I've seen. They've used pretty matte paints, and they also are able to get that 3D effect with a lot less layers, but I tend to use, I feel like, more layers. I've seen some fish that are done in 4 layers, which to me is insane. Like, that's a lot of shading and things like that I'm not quite on that expertise yet. But if you feel like you're getting a 3D effect a lot quicker, you don't need to do this many layers. Alright, so I've almost got, let's see, am I missing any fish? I almost have to look around once in a while, make sure I'm not missing, because I am, see this one right here? Missing any fish, because they tend to be a little bit invisible to me sometimes. Alright, there we go. They're looking glittery and glamorous, honestly. I'm going to fix the head on this one a little bit. Just like that. Alright, we're going to wait for those to dry before we add any details to those. Let's go back to our fish right here. So I am going to try to, I want to make the eyelids pop out a little bit. If you notice, most eyeballs on fish, especially goldfish and things like that, they tend to be a little bit bulgy. So I am adding a little bit of a bulge to the eyes, and we're going to come out on the nose just a little bit. There we go. But the biggest thing we're going to do right now is we're going to start adding these scales. And I'm trying to remember how I did the last few times that we've done scales. What I think I'm going to do is I'm going to add the white first. Let me grab my white here. This might be a little bit bluer than the last paint that I used. I'm trying to see. Alright. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to start to mark out where my scales are. I'm thinking that's looking pretty good. Again, we're not going to paint out to here because we want the fish to come up like a triangle, right? The back of the fish is a little bit, it's humped. It gets bigger in the middle here. So we want to make sure that we're not painting past these 2 points. These sides and this back of the fish, they're done. We're not touching them anymore. I think at most we can add that far out, okay? So that far down, that far to the side, and I'm going to turn this so you can see. See, that's it from that side, and I'm going to turn it, turn it, turn it. And so actually I could see I can maybe bring this up a little bit. Heck yeah, you see how that brought everything together right there? Very, very important that we're turning the fish while we're painting so we don't have any gaps like that. We're going to do a little bit of white right there. That's looking real cute. And let's turn it. Make sure it looks cute from this angle too. I think at most I'm going to come off the edge a little bit and add. There we go. That blended it out just a bit. Perfect. You have to move the painting around. It's so imperative. I'm sure as I'm showing you how important it is, you're seeing just how big a difference it does make because your painting can look amazing from one angle, but we want it to look good at multiple angles. So we'll finish that spot, turn it this way. Yeah, see that? Very, very cool. Alright, so let's go ahead and start adding the orange scales. So I'm mixing orange and just a touch of gold. Ooh, I might have added too much gold. Let's see here. Oh, maybe not. It's hard to tell sometimes. Let's see. No, it's not bad at all, is it? Is it? It might be a little light. Let's make it a little bit more. Okay. Alright, let's go ahead and dot this one around. We're pretty much just marking a couple scales down. The most important ones, if you do remember, are the ones that are on the sides, not in the middle, because the middle will be covered. But there's nothing wrong with doing the middle, because it is covered. Does that make sense? So you can almost use this time to practice. And then I think the scales in the top are going to be a little bit more tiny, just like that. Alright, it's looking a little bit spotty, but it's okay. We're going to still work on that. We're going to wait for that to dry just a smidge. Let me just cut that a little bit. There we go. And this one. I keep having to look at my camera itself, like, just to see what you guys are seeing, because your view is different than my view. You're looking at it from this angle, down here. I'm looking at it from this angle. So we're actually looking at two different angles when I'm filming this, which does make it a little bit bizarre, but I'm still sure that you can follow along and make sure that yours is looking just as good. So even as I turned it, I wanted to fill that in a little bit. Cool beans. Alright, so now that that is doing its magic, let's go ahead and add the fins of our baby fish, which again are going to be slightly transparent, so I am using a slightly watery solution for the fins. And just pretty much creating an impression of fins rather than real fins, actually painting them out. I'm just creating an impression of them because I don't want anything that's going to be obvious or dramatic or thick or heavy. None of that is going to be on our baby fish. All of our baby fish are going to be soft and cute and small. Those are all the adjectives that I want specifically for the baby fish here. I might actually be doing the fins a little bit high. Yeah, they're looking a little high. They're up near the gills, aren't they? That's okay. There we go. And there we go. So let me double check, make sure I didn't miss any baby fish. Yeah, it's looking good. I'm going to add a little bit of an impression of the tails, not much. Just like this. I almost feel like I should have rewatched my older parts to remind me on how to paint. Because even I need a little help on my own paintings that I'm doing. And I need help from myself, probably. I have a little bit of a hole on this fish. I'm just going to add some paint to cover up that hole right there. Alright, that's looking good. So on our big fish here, what I want to do is I want to start softening this edge a little bit, but also adding a little bit of shading and also highlights because it's looking kind of matte. I don't want to add too much because I feel like there was too much before. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to be mixing colors that are already in that paint that I'm using before. And I'm just going to soften this edge here with some wet metallic paint mixed with the orange. And then clean brush. I'm just going to soften this a little bit. Again, you guys are at a different angle than me. You're not seeing all the things that I'm doing here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn this around so you can see that edge? It's getting softer and softer by the second. That's what I'm doing. I'm just softening that edge, just like that. I'm going to soften this edge as well. So I'm going to dab a little bit of like a rosy metallic, mix it in with the orange that I've been working on, add it a little bit to the sides here, and then clean brush, soften. Ooh, that looks good right there. Soften, soften, soften. There we go. Alright, so that is looking a little bit softer, which I like. I am going to add a little bit more detail now. I'm going to do this by just grabbing more of my orange here. I'm going to darken my orange just a touch. There we go. Alright, with this darker orange, I'm just going to shade behind my scales that I painted previously. Just like that. Alright, and as I'm shading, I'm also looking for any spots that I want to add a little bit more highlight to as well. And we don't want to go too detail crazy, but we are getting a little bit higher, so that means we need to be a little bit more detail oriented. And then the scales up near the front of the face are going to be a lot smaller. I don't know if I blended the front enough. I'm just going to soften that a little bit. I'm wiping my brush clean right now between strokes just to soften that nose up. There we go. That's actually looking better. I'm going to completely erase right here. And then soften, 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 soften. Cool. Oh, that's looking a lot better near the nose, isn't it? Alright, so I'm going to add some highlights, which is grabbing a little bit of that gold and orange. And I'm going to put it on the opposite part of where the shadow is on each one. I'm also going to add it to the tops of the eyes here. Oops, I think I did that a little bit rough. Let me see. I'll fix it in a second. There we go. A little bit better. A little bit better. Alright. And let's just continue with these little highlights. I absolutely love the look of the gold. If you don't, I would recommend a really fine metallic or a matte. There we go. Alright, let's go ahead and shade on the white part. So I'm going to grab some silver, which is just perfect to shade with, and I'm going to mix it with a little bit of orange, not a lot. Alright, so now I've got this beautiful slate gray, and I'm just going to touch a little bit underneath the white pieces here. Alright, that's looking pretty good. We're not going to do any black because obviously we want the lids to essentially cover the eyes at this point. So again, this layer is absolutely no eyeball going on. We're just working on the back right now. And it's not looking bad there. I'm thinking that this layer is just about done. It's looking pretty soft. I'm liking it. I'm going to add the eyes to the baby fish, which I'm going to do black mixed with some orange. It's not going to be too dark. Let's see. Let's see, where is that? I'm trying to see that on my camera. You see that there? There's an eyeball. There's another eyeball. And let's just add eyeballs to all of our baby fish here. That's an okay color, isn't it? Yeah, that's an okay color for the eyes. Oops, I'm running out of this okay color. I hope that, whoops, I'll need to mix some more and hopefully not lose this color. Ooh, I might have lost it. Right when you find a good color, you run out of it and you need some more. Doesn't that always happen? Alright, and then this one right there, we know. Some of these are a little bit googly eyes, so I'm just going to use my brush to cut that a little bit. Alright, and now let's double check our fish. Let's spin it, because we have to make sure I'm not missing any eyeballs, I'm not missing any fins. Is it looking kind of good? Let's see. I think I'm going to add a little bit of extra spinach to some of these guys, not much. Just a touch. Again, you might be, I don't know if you can see it too much on the camera, there's this whitish film. Actually, let's see if I can, this one's the worst. You guys can't actually see that too much on camera. It's ridiculously thick in person. I'm going to refocus this and see if it will show ya. Yeah, I told you I have a hard time focusing on fish. Let's see here. Alright. Sometimes if I put a little bit of cotton or something on it with a texture to it, it could focus a little bit better. There we go. So yeah, that worked just fine. Alright, so you might be able to see it a little bit. It's a lot worse for in person. You might get this film created, but again, as soon as you put the resin down, that goes completely away and it's okay. Alright, the one thing I'm going to add is I'm going to add a little bit of a pop of fin here. Because I know these are going to be visible. Just like that. And other than that, oh, you know what? This fish in particular right over here is not looking cute. Let me just work on that one real fast. There we go. It's looking a little bit cuter. Honestly, I think we're good to add a new layer. So, let's get to mixing the resin here. Let me move my fish painting out of the way. And because it's been so long, I am using new bottles of resin, which is probably the most exciting thing in my life, is to take the tape off a new bottle of resin. I don't know about you, but it's the little things in life that add a little bit of happiness, right? Alright. And as per usual, I got my sticks over here as well. I am, again, one of those people that uses the cap to measure, which I would not really recommend. I would recommend a little measuring cup. If you got the disposable plastic ones, that would be fantastic. I know that it's not great for the environment. That being said, if you are rinsing resin, like you get a reusable one and you're rinsing it down the sink, that is terribly bad for the environment, and I wouldn't recommend it. So it's pretty much, which one would you prefer? Something that's going to ruin your pipes and be bad for the environment, or cups of plastic? So honestly, I would use the cups of plastic. I wouldn't, and then the plastic, I do not believe the plastic is recyclable once you get resin on them. I'm pretty sure the plastic has to be disposed of properly outside of how should I say it? Recycling, because I'm pretty sure resin it messes with plastic. You cannot recycle it afterwards. Alright. That was, the first part was the hardener, I think, and then this is the resin. Could be wrong. Now I could always add more later, but right now all I am doing is 1 capful of each, so in total 2 capfuls worth for this layer.
Alright, let's go ahead and mix our resin until it is, again, it goes clear, and then it goes cloudy, and then we want to mix it until it goes clear again. So we're just going to mix up until it does that. Okay guys, our solution is looking pretty clear. It's looking also very bubbly. I kind of mixed it a little bit quick this time because I do have a heat gun, and I'm gonna go ahead and shoot it on this. I'm gonna shoot it in here in the plastic. Not sure if that's a good idea, but I'm gonna shoot it in here before I actually put it in my mold because I don't want to mess anything on my mold up. So let's do that. That worked insanely good. Let me turn my thing off here. Holy cow, that removed my bubbles instantly. I'm gonna go ahead and pour it here. Let me move my junk out of the way. And get this in position here. And let me focus for a second. All right, let's go ahead and pour this resin in. You guys, that is looking pretty freaking good. I am very happy with this layer. I am going to pop a couple more bubbles with my heat gun here. Not too many. There's not too many left, but I can see them right here. And this thing actually pops them pretty much instantly. Holy cow. I don't know how I went without a heat gun for so long. Holy cow, that's really, really good. Yeah, I would recommend a heat gun if you're able to get your hands on one. Well, I just found a hair in my fish painting here. I hate it when this happens. It happens literally every single time. I swear every single layer has a hair in it somewhere. I don't know if I got it or if I just pressed it off to the side. I don't see it anymore, so I'm sure it's fine. But yeah. There's also, I'm seeing like there's something in it right there. This is like the worst part about resin paintings, is finding the little things in the resin painting afterward. They're so minuscule and you can't really tell that they're there, but oof, I can tell that they're there. I can tell that they're there. If I don't mention them, no one else can, but it bothers me. There's a hair in there as well. Use the back of this. But yeah, you guys, thank you so much for watching. I will see you guys for the next part, hopefully a lot sooner than it took for this part to come out. I'm sure it will be. But I will see you for the next layer. And we're gonna probably finish this in maybe, I don't know, 3 or 4 more layers and then the final layer. So you guys, thank you so much for watching. I will see you next time. Bye bye.